Right, all you Move, Think, Smile followers, all you functional, integrative, and holistic health coaches and practitioners. We really want to come in here and do something today because tomorrow we have a very cool interview coming up with one of our clients, Dr. Ingrid Ratz. And she literally is like Wonder Woman, what she has been able to do and the obstacles she's been able to overcome from a business and personal standpoint. And I don't want to ruin that, but it's really amazing when you take somebody who is in a very conventional healthcare model. Now, she's a physical therapist. And today we kind of want to do a prequel on, how wellness experts are literally getting out there and defying the laws of business. So we got a really great episode today. My name is Adam. I'm with Move, Think, Smile. And I've also got our leadership team. I've got Robin Morgan and Elliot Fosheron with me as well. Glad to have you here, guys. So let's kind of just jump into this thing. So one of the things that we see, and I'm going to kind of like turn this over to Elliot here, is, burnout. We see this left and right. In fact, Move, Think, Smile was founded on helping people in professional fields and entrepreneurs really bounce out of burnout. And I remember when Ingrid first reached out to you, she was in the big B, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, she really, is an example of how so many wellness, professionals are struggling because in order to increase your yearly income, it's like you just have to see more clients. You just have to see more clients. And so you're just trying to fit more people into your calendar, more people into a day. And it starts to just become, well, it's exhausting and people burn out really quickly, and a lot of times what we see too is, when you're younger, you're in your 20s or your 30s and you still have, a ton of energy and you're just like, yeah, I'm going to hit the ground running and I'm going to do, 80 hours a week and it's not going to impact me. But as the years go by and as you want to have a life or you want to have a family or you want to be able to go on trips and vacations, you start to realize that that is just not sustainable. And that's really where Ingrid was. She was at that point where I love my business, I love my clients, but in order to make enough income, I have to burn myself out.
Now, this is really interesting. So this is kind of like the procedure-based model, or what some people will call the transaction-based model. And the reality is, as a physical therapist, like if she wanted to scale her business, she had to work more. Like she just had to. Like you could be efficient with your systems all day long. You could be efficient with your admin all day long. But the reality is, in order for her to bring in more money into the company, which she had a physical brick and mortar practice, and spoiler alert, she closed those doors. Wow. Define the law of physical therapy business for sure. That you have got to, the only way to scale is to put in more time. And there's only so much time you can put in. I mean, sure, you can ramp up and do 70 hours a week for a limited amount of time, but the body and the brain only have so much in them before they literally burn out and they just implode.
Yeah.
And Robin, when you're out there and you're seeing this, I mean, you've worked in transactional models before, right?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And what I think is really interesting about Ingrid's story in particular too is these businesses are successful by many people's definition of success. And I think that we're taught that that's the model to follow, that, have people bill by the hour, have this transactional model for health. But I don't think that that's serving either the client or the practitioner.
No, it's not. It's not. And what's really weird is, I mean, there are some things that you have got to be like if you're going to cut somebody open, I hope you're not doing this in a group setting. Right. If you're going to perform surgery, I mean, I get this, trauma-related incidents and things like that. But there are some things where, Ingrid was seeing all the same people when she's done a really cool job with her new offer. And I think it's just amazing how she has completely closed her doors, has got more free time to spend with her family, and it actually increased her profits. And if you're around, that's going to be 11 a.m. tomorrow, May 12th, Eastern time in the group, and we'll be sharing all that with you. But, one way to defy the law of business, I believe, what LA is saying is got to move from transaction. And what do we got to go to?
Transformation, for sure. Yeah.
Transformation. It's really getting in there and helping people achieve or overcome a major health or wellness challenge. Now, that health or wellness challenge could be something as simple as I just need to lose 30 pounds because I'm about ready to something else bad is going to happen, which we know always does. It's just a matter of time. What the genetic code is going to happen there and what kind of health or wellness flaw is going to flare up. It's going to be diabetes or hypertension or cardiovascular heart disease. Who knows? It's going to be one of those. And this kind of leads into, okay, well, if I go from transaction to transformation, this is really cool because now I'm going to be with the person for the whole process, right? Making sure that they get there, but how do I make money at that? And that kind of goes into, I would call step 2, right? Of how to defy the law of business, and it's changing your pricing structure. And so, Ellie or Robin, what do we traditionally see when it comes to the health industry?
Well, it's definitely transactional, and a lot of people will have a program that, I went to IIN, Adam, you did too. We've got the 6-month program where we meet with them, and we might put it together as one price, but it really is transactional. It's set and based upon the one-on-one meetings between the coach and the client for the most part, right, Elliot?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, it's as we've talked, sometimes it's like people can spend so much time with a practitioner or a health expert over, years of time. And so there's just something a little off with, yeah, it's like, how many sessions do I get? Or, let's see you for this many times a month. And the focus is always, always on number of sessions or number of packages or how many times you're going to come see me. And it's really not focused on the end result. And so I think it leads everybody to get confused, the practitioners and the clients.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting is, we're proponents of having just one flat fee. And when people hear that, like Robin, when we first start working with someone like, hey, we want to take you to 3 to 5K for your fee, what are their reactions? They're like,
well, they can't, their brain literally can't compute that because they're so used to smaller numbers and little chunks, right? And it could be the same number though, Adam, right?
Well, what's interesting, so our client Meryl, who's a personal trainer, and she was working with people for $65 an hour. And then she went to $100 an hour. That was one-on-one. And then when we sat down with her, it's like, we need to get you to 3 to 5K, kind of like as like this like flat fee thing. She's like, but it's so much money. But well, let's look at this. We literally went back over the past year and we calculated how much time, what the bell curve was for her. And the clients that worked with her for more than 6 months at a time, which are the long-term clients, were paying her annually $6,280 to $9,680. They were paying her $6 to $10 grand to basically work with her for an entire year and have little tiny progress. Right. But now she's at 3K, which is basically a 50% discount. So you're saving somebody money, right? Over her, the $6 grand people. And now they're having faster transformations with their health in a shorter period of time.
Yeah. And I think it's important to mention here because, a lot of people might be thinking, well, if, it was incremental over a year, what's going to make it change over, say a 3-month period? And I think what's so important to really for everyone to remember and think about is just the power of momentum. So when someone is scattering their sessions throughout an entire year, it's like, I always like to relate it to learning a new sport. If you're going to learn a new sport and you only take a lesson every now and then, your learning curve is going to be long. It's going to take you a really long time to get to any level of mastery. But if you jump in there and, you take a lesson every single week or a couple times a week, your learning curve and your mastery is going to substantially increase because you have momentum on your side. You have that ability of just like the muscle memory and the breaking the habits and creating new ones. And so this is why this is so powerful, is to stop kind of trickling this whole process along and really use momentum and gravity, basically get that on our side.
Yeah, it's really interesting that when you start looking at how much money somebody is spending to manage a problem. Yeah. Now, in their mind, they don't want to manage the problem. They want to fix the problem. So they're doing what they think they can in order to get out there and fix things. But in reality, a slow, long trickle. Now, again, I do understand there are some diseases, there are some dysfunctions that just can't be fixed overnight. They can't be fixed in 4 weeks. They can't be fixed in 8 weeks. And they sure as heck can't be fixed in 6 months. It takes a longer period. But when you get in and you work with somebody in a short period of time, and what we call like the front end offer, right? They get in, they show up, they do the work. And this is a great example. So I was talking to my father the other night. He's totally retired. Totally. He's the busiest retired guy I know. And so he does a lot of financial advising, and he's been working for this company called Crown, and he's been volunteering. And I talked to him the other night and he says, I quit. I'm like, wow. I'm like, you're a volunteer. He's like, and I started working for another company. He said, I quit Crown. I started working for another company. I'm like, well, wow, you made a career change as a retired guy. I'm like, that's cool. And then I'm like, you got to tell me like what's going on. He's like, well, what's happening is with Crown, they were donating all their services to people. So we were getting these people that needed financial help, but they would never show up for the sessions. They wouldn't do any of their homework. They wouldn't get any of their data together. They wouldn't do anything. And I'm sitting there and I'm putting in all my time as a volunteer trying to help these people who desperately want it. And they're just not doing any of it.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally familiar, right? I mean, I have to battle this on our own advertising all the time. People saying, I can't believe you're charging people when all these people need help. But the reality is the people who don't pay usually don't show up and do anything.
Yeah.
Or where insurance steps in and pays the people because it's handed to them, to them it's free, even though they do have a deductible and things like this, that the pricing in the 3 to 5K realm, that we're literally saving people thousands and thousands of dollars, which kind of goes into, step number 3 that we're talking about. And that's really kind of like the cost of sickness is greater than the cost of wellness. I mean, it just seriously is. I mean, here's a great example. So here in the United States of America, and I know we got a lot of people from other countries, international in the group, but here in the United States of America, we have this thing called the CDC. That's the Center for Disease Control. And if you go in there and you look up, they will literally have all these reports on what people are paying to manage things. So let's take diabetes, which is right now, I think, the biggest disease in North America. It's affecting what I'm seeing reports coming in at 50% of our population. That's 1 out of 2 people are pre-diabetic or diabetic. That's 1 away from everyone. That's crazy. Now, when somebody pops above, I think it's 6.2 or 6.3 on the A1C score, the blood sugar level, that's when they have diabetes. So they go into a diabetes management program. Do you know what the average spend? This is average. People are spending to manage diabetes. It's $16,780 something dollars, if I remember. I might be off by $100, but it's almost 17 grand a year just to manage the disease, rather than getting in there and really working on lowering their blood sugar naturally, so the disease goes into remission and their eyesight comes back, the feeling in their feet comes back, their energy comes back, everything comes back. Because we know firsthand what happens if somebody doesn't do that.
Right.
It gets worse.
Yeah.
It always gets worse. So if you're out there and somebody's spending 16 grand a year just to manage the problem, and you've got a 3 to 5K diabetes offer, you just save that person like 150 to 155 grand over the next 10 years. Plus, there's a really good chance you just expanded their lifespan, gave them quality of life back, and gave them basically the impact that they really want to have with the people they care about. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think what's really interesting is, when we look at, how wellness experts can defy the law of business, it's really shifting the way of what's really going on with a person, how they're handling their health and their wellness, and the money that they're really spending to try and fix it that is not fixing it.
Yeah.
And I think it's also, dependent upon where they are too in their journey. So we can have people who are just, I'll call them dabblers, trying to fix a small problem, and they throw little bits at this, they throw a little bit over here, they buy these supplements, they buy these gadgets. And, over time, they've spent thousands of dollars and the problem's still there. That's when they're coming in and they're saying, here, I need this transformation and I need it yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where I think it's so important to also really kind of defy the laws of business. We were talking earlier about, kind of we've been trained, or the idea is, we just got to work with more people. And the way you kind of flip that on its head is actually go, no, I want to work with less people, and I want to make more money, and I want to have more impact on those people that I'm working with. So there isn't a lot of people that are just sort of straggling along, basically, getting these mediocre results, if any. And it's kind of this tug and pull of they're doing or not doing things. And, all of the steps and parts and pieces that you have to, work with someone on to really transform their health. And so one thing that we talk a lot about is looking at, there are a lot of people out there that are, Robin, like you said, the dabblers, or people that just are still normalizing they're not feeling well, normalizing their sickness and just thinking this is just how things are, and or they kind of sugarcoat things because they're just trying to stay optimistic. But the thing is those people at some point they hit a tipping point. They hit a tipping point where they're just like you said, I'm ready to make this change. And that's where kind of this magic soup happens, because now you have a client that's really committed to making this change happen because they spent all of this time doing the things that don't work.
Yeah.
And while that's frustrating, it's also really great because that allows you to fill that spot at the end. It allows you to fill the spot when they're at the tipping point.
Yeah. And we've talked about this several times. We can kind of elaborate it on more, but it really comes down to changing the structure, and that's the way that you're working with your people. Now, do you have to go 100% online? No, you don't. You can do it. You can do it one-to-one. I mean, we've worked with functional doctors, medical doctors like Jake and Peter, who basically, they didn't do a whole lot to change their structure. What they did do is they changed their pricing and they changed the way they were communicating, or basically changed their message.
Yeah.
And that's how they were able to do, you go from barely breaking even and kind of draining their savings accounts for 3 years with their private practice to launching up and doing like almost 60 grand in the first month.
Mm-hmm.
Once we got out there and really started doing some cool stuff, they defied the laws of business. They're defying the laws of healthcare. They're defying the laws of the health industry. And what's really cool is, yeah, they've got the income coming in, but they're saving their clients a lot of money. They're saving their clients a lot of time. And the end result is their clients are having amazing health and wellness results. Now, Jake and Peter work in a very, very, I would call a taboo area, and that's sexual wellness, and it's specifically erectile dysfunction. Whereas Ingrid, she really works more in the physical therapy realm, more of that kind of functional physical area. You know, she's a doctor of physical therapy.
Mm-hmm.
But who the heck, how many physical therapists, you know, can close their doors, turn around and say, I've got more free time, I'm not burning out anymore, and I've actually got, my profits are better, and my clients are getting better results. So where Ingrid was working with, like, I think she once told me it was like, oh my gosh, I think at a high end, like anywhere between 40 to 50 people a week.
That's a lot.
She had a quote unquote successful business, but Elia, like, I remember when she first contacted you, she didn't even contact you for business. She contacted you because she was burnt out.
Yes. And that's when, you know, we really started to realize that she, you know, again, as many people do in burnout, it's like they love what they do. They love their businesses a lot of times, but they just feel like they can't do it anymore. They don't know how to do it without it being such an, you know, energetic drain. And so yeah, but we realized how important her business really was, and that what really needed to happen was that we just needed to change the structure and see, you know, how that was going to impact her energy levels.
Yeah. And so we're going to talk about this more to the interview that we're doing tomorrow morning. So you guys make sure you if you scroll down and you can kind of see the event that we scheduled, click the get reminder button, and then you can kind of, she's going to explain exactly what she did. She's going to share all the juicy details with everybody. But yeah, it is changing the structure. It's just understanding that the transformation is more important than the transaction.
Yeah.
And I can't confirm this, but my gut is feelings that the transactional model came from our traditional healthcare system, where we have insurance, which has to have a way to bill. So they have to bill either for time, or they have to bill for a procedure. Does that make sense? So let's say I go, yes. I mean, if I go in for knee surgery, they're not billing me for every minute that they're spending in the surgery room. They just have a flat fee for the knee surgery. It might take 15 minutes. It might take, 4 hours. And I've had both those happen before. Sometimes it's really short and sometimes it's really long, and it's the same price. Right.
Yeah.
So luckily, if they get in there and do it fast, they can take the rest of the day off. I don't know if that's what they're doing, but that's what I like to think. So it's really interesting how the transactional model really feeds into the insurance model. And the insurance model, I mean, it's probably one of the best business models out there, because their whole goal is to collect as much money they can and pay as little out as possible. And this is why more and more people are getting their claims denied. They're getting prescriptions denied. They're getting all this denied because they're in management programs, and the cost of healthcare is going up and up and up. So if you're able to get out there and help somebody transform their wellness, and then you understand step 2, that the pricing that you're putting on top of this, you're actually saving them a ton of money from the money that they're spending, in that instead of paying for sickness with not only their cash and their time, but eventually their life, you're giving them a bargain. And that's what Ingrid did. And that's how she was able to get out there to defy the laws of business. Does this make sense, guys?
Yeah. And I especially love Ingrid's story just because when years ago, if you told me a physical therapist could work online virtually, I would have said you're crazy. And I think a lot of practitioners of all kinds really do believe that's not possible for them. And all these things are not possible for them. And I think when you listen, if you have a chance to definitely listen to Ingrid's story, she's a great example of what can be done even with obstacles and, real life and 2 young kids. She's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it's not like this was handed to her on a silver platter.
Yeah.
Nope.
No, she put in the work. She worked hard. I mean, even right now, she's dealing with some big life obstacles, but she's not giving up, and this is really working her favor. And what's really cool is her business is now working for her instead of her working the business.
Yeah.
Which Ella and I don't know. Did we do that at all? Did we ever?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone who's an entrepreneur, probably.
Yeah. And I think, sometimes people might say, oh, that's, we all kind of have this innate thing that sometimes goes, well, isn't that so selfish? It should be about the clients. But we have to remember that when the business works for us, we show up as much more powerful health practitioners, experts, all this kind of stuff, because there's nothing worse than having, and I've seen this before where I know, this wellness expert is so talented, but they're just so exhausted and burnt out that they're not bringing it. They're not bringing what they could. And so this is where, again, we have to remind ourselves that what works well for us is going to work well for our clients. And we often think it's the other way around.
And I think, and Robin, because we see so many people who want to get out there and then they tend to hide behind a couple things. They hide behind, and the number one thing that I see, I mean, one is a thing called perfectionism, which I get that. And it's just an excuse, right? Because it's like, you got to put yourself out there. And honestly, guys, if you want to grow your business, you're going to have to step outside the comfort zone, because why? Anybody? That's where the results are, right?
They're all there.
That's where the results are.
Yeah.
But it's really wrapping your mind on, and it's usually this financial thing that is probably the biggest roadblock for people. And that's like, because people in the wellness field aren't in the wellness field because they're looking to make $1 million. They're doing it because they give a crap.
Yeah.
Right. They really care about what's going on. We admire that. But the reality is, if your business needs fuel, and that fuel comes in the way of cash, it needs that food. And if there's not cash flow coming, enough cash flow, and you're working more and more and more, all of a sudden your performance goes down. You're less effective on the people that you want to help. And it ends up just going into a burnout situation, which is where Ingrid was. But the minute that she was able to close her doors, increase her profits, increase her time, and get better results with her clients, it was like a giant win all the way around.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's key. I think that when you look at it, and when you look at all of these people that we've had the pleasure of working with too, all across the board, they're saying, the previous model that they were using, which is often the hourly or every other week or whatever it is, work to a certain degree. But now that they've changed the model, the results for the clients not only are better, but they're coming in faster, which gets more of a commitment, and it gets more excitement, and it helps them heal and get to where they want to be way faster than stretching it out. So I think it's not just the money, but it is the result. And I think also for the clients, investing in themselves can be a shift that makes all the difference in how they show up and do the work too.
Yep.
No, for sure. So it comes down to this, everybody, 3 steps. 1, you got to move from transaction to transformation, because we're not here to do transactions. We're not here to do procedures. We're here to really help somebody overcome a major health and wellness challenge and to improve it for the long term, not just manage and mitigate the symptoms. You have to look at pricing as that you're actually saving somebody a lot of money. And this is the gosh honest truth. In almost every scenario, and I've yet to see, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but I've yet to see a health and wellness scenario where somebody has a major disease or dysfunction that is not saving money by working with a functional, integrative, holistic practitioner in 3 to 4 months, making major progress with their health where they haven't been able to do for years in other settings. So understand that even if you're at 3K or 5K, and I just fact checked my number, it's $16,750. That's what the CDC says that people are spending on diabetes management every year. So if you got a 5K diabetes offer and you lower their blood sugar and diabetes goes into remission and the symptoms aren't bothering them anymore, In year number one, you just saved them $11,750.
Yep.
Year one in the next 12 months. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And then the cost of not doing this, people are dying. I'm going to go back to diabetes. I'm going to throw in here a personal story with my stepfather. He managed his diabetes. My stepfather, Richard, managed his diabetes, and he managed it for decades. That diabetes at 69 years old turned into leukemia and then killed him in 6 months. That's what happened. That's because he managed. And speaking to my mother, knowing how much they were putting into it was more like the 25 grand a year thing to manage the stuff with the deductibles, the insurance, and all this kind of thing. Because granted, you're in your 60s, you got a major life-threatening disease, your insurance ain't cheap. It's just not. So do yourself, if this is something that really appeals to you guys, we invite you to come over to movethinkssmile.com/apply to see if you qualify to get on a wellness business growth session with one of us. And what's really important here is I don't think a lot of people realize this, but we're talking about business, we're talking about health and wellness. And I want everybody to understand that between Ellie, Robin, and I, if I'm right, I think we got like 67 cumulative years of growth or of business and entrepreneur experience, specifically in the marketing. And out of those years, I would say probably 50 of those years are in some form or fashion of health and wellness. I mean, Ellie is a certified CTI life coach. Robin is a life coach, health coach, wellness coach, all the coaches above. I'm an integrative nutrition health coach. And, first and foremost, we were entrepreneurs and business experts before this, working in a lot of different industries. It just so happens that our passion is in health and wellness. And that's what we did. And if anybody out there listening to this is serious about being able to defy the laws of business, to really get out there, really help people transform their health for the long term, set a price that is extremely fair to your clients because it's a bargain. Even if it's $3,000 to $5,000 per client, it's a flat fee versus them paying you 6 to 10 grand over a year, like they did with our client Meryl, or even Ingrid. They were doing that too, and not getting the transformation they need. Right? Because they were doing it in little tiny chunks. And then understanding by not pulling somebody out of this transactional system that many times that stuff does get worse.
Yeah. Most times.
Yeah, most times it does. It does. I mean, there's a few scenarios where somebody like stepped out and took it on their own and made some really cool things. But we're at the tipping point of sickness to wellness. There is more need right now for this stuff. And if you don't believe me, you can look up Market Data LLC. It's a very highly respected research company. And basically, here's how it goes. Let's see if I get this right. 60% of people in the United States. So that was before the census last year, I think. And so that was right around 197 million people. So think about this. 197 people want wellness. They want some type of health coaching. They want some type of functional approach. They want some type of integrative. They want some type of holistic. They want something that's going to work because these are lifestyle diseases and dysfunctions that we're dealing with. That 60% want it. Now, the shocking number is 80% of that number have never had it offered to them. That's 157 million people in the United States alone who want wellness, who don't know where to get it because they don't know who you are. They don't know anything about it. And if you'd like to get out there and defy the laws of the health industry, you'd like to defy the laws of business, come on over to movethinkssmile.com/apply. See if you qualify. You fill out a short form. And if you do, you'll be taken to our calendar. You're going to jump on the phone with one of us or a Zoom call. We'll kind of get nitty and gritty and see what's going on with the business and see what kind of steps might be best serve you. And at the end of that thing, if you're excited, we could talk about, what's possible. And if not, no worries. No big deal. No big deal. So, talking about our experience. So Robin, so just let me confirm. So how long have you been in business and entrepreneurship?
Well, you're going to make me out myself for my true age, but I'd say 30 years. I mean,
30. Okay, cool.
I was an entrepreneur from the very beginning. Not a baby, but
cool. So I've been in marketing since 1994. I'm just going to say that. I've been in marketing. I've been in corporate. Now, entrepreneur style kind of started around 1999-ish for me. So let's just say 2000. So we got 22 years there, but if you a couple on since I've been in marketing there, Ellie, I know that you've been in the health and wellness and entrepreneur space for almost 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just looking, it looks like I just saw a comment come through. It says life coaching doesn't necessarily transfer easily to saving 11K in health costs. How do you transfer life transformation into a dollar amount?
Oh, good question.
So life transformation, well, the trick here is positioning this correctly.
Yeah.
So if you just go out there and go life transformation, it's probably not going to work very well. So one of the things that we see over and over again that's really tough for people is they try to sell life coaching or they try to sell health coaching. And I can tell you right now, nobody wants to pay for health coaching. Nobody wants to pay for health consulting. Nobody wants to pay for hypnosis. Nobody wants to pay for life coaching. That's the reality. But if you can help them overcome a significant health or wellness challenge, now it could be something on, let's call it the extreme end. Their A1C score is 10.1 and their diabetes is off the charts. And it's probably going to turn into cancer if they don't fix it. Right. Mm-hmm. Or it could be someone who's just fatigued and tired all the time and just does not know how to get their energy back, but you do. Right. Yeah. Or if we look on the mental and emotional side of things, which typically that's where life coaching really comes in, you know, you've got the big two, you've got anxiety and depression, right? To where if they're going to traditional Socratic methods, psychology, psychiatry, psychology is going to try and, you know, have them talk themselves out of it based on their mom and dad and what experiences they had. I get it. Cool. You know, but when that stuff was founded, we did not know exactly how the brain works. We know much more about how the brain works. I think if Sigmund Freud was alive today, he would go back and change a bunch of his stuff, to be honest with you. Like he got a great start for what he had, but I think he would like evolve into something really cool.
Yeah.
And then if you can get out there as a life coach and you can help somebody get past the depression, you can help somebody get past the anxiety. And if you think about it like this, and this is a great example, life coaching, LA, let's kind of take a look at this. So when we work with our burnout people, right? So we do a lot of life coaching and a lot of mindset shifts, a lot of life transformation. Mm-hmm. When somebody is not if not operating at their optimal point, we know with the people that we work with that their average time loss per day was about 3 hours, right?
Yep.
3 hours per day. And we also know that the average basically worth of an hour to a professional that we were working with was about $100 an hour. Mm-hmm. So if you're losing 3 hours per day, that's literally 45 straight days a year. This person is paying with anxiety, depression, emotional, mental disorders. Does this make sense? Or low-grade fatigue, or not being, or brain fog, or not being able to perform their best, or not having the passion to go there. I mean, sure, they're operating, sure, they're working, sure, they're doing stuff, but are they at their potential? No. So if you take 45 straight days, and if I remember right, I don't have my calculator in front of me. Well, actually, I do. Let's take a look at this. So you're talking about 3 hours a day. So that's $300 a day times 7, right? So that's $2,100 a week times 4. That's $8,400 a month times 12. That's $100,000. That's a $6K problem that somebody's having if they don't get the life coaching.
Yeah. And I think, you know, to kind of speak to this question again, I think what's so important is so many of us come out of whatever training we've had and we are trying to sell the how. We are selling the hypnosis. We're selling, I don't know, the diet. We are selling the how we fix people. And that's where we fumble. That's where we mess up. And that's where it often seems like, how do you transfer, you know, 11K in health costs with life coaching? It's like, okay, well, really, we want to look at what is this costing the client? And again, it's not really about what you're worth or what you bring or how you fix them. So life coaching might be how you fix them. But again, that's not the transformation that you're selling. What you're selling is the problem that you fix for these people, right? And again, no matter how you get there. So that's how we really look at being able to quantify this, just with Adam's examples earlier today with diabetes and looking at, you know, it doesn't matter how many tools you have in your toolkit for helping diabetes and how many fancy tools you have, and you could promote those all day long. But again, you know, really what we're talking about is diabetes itself and that person's costs.
Yeah. And another great example. So our client Shane, who is an active client of ours right now. He's in Ireland. He's a fresh life coach, right? Mm-hmm. He's just getting out there. We're still working with him, but he's really going to get out there and help basically corporate men who are dealing with lack of confidence, whether it be, you know, they're burned out. I mean, I can guarantee there's an element of burnout out. They've worked too much. Their family relationship isn't where they want to be. Maybe they've got divorced and they are not able to progress in their career forward. So they contact Shane. Shane helps them get their confidence back, gets rid of all the mind junk like a great life coach will do, right? Empties out the bad gas, puts in the high octane stuff. Next thing you know, this guy gets out there and he's getting a promotion. And let's say it's only 10 grand, it's only 10 grand. It's not a big promotion. It's only 10 grand for a year, but that's 100 grand over the next 10 years. So if you've got a 5K or 10K thing or a 15K thing, even if it's 20K, you basically just gave this guy, a 5X return on his investment with you.
Yeah.
Whereas he was losing 100 grand a year by not doing this.
Yeah.
Losing time and possibly losing his job and possibly losing his marriage and possibly doing this stuff. So that's just kind of a quick example. I mean, there are so many ways, putting, and the reality is putting a number on top of someone's misery is really impossible, because helping somebody really achieve their optimal health, their optimal wellness, their optimal impact with the people that they care about is truly priceless.
Yeah, absolutely.
It truly is. And that's how we know we can show you how to articulate it. So you're easily getting 3K to 5K, and in some cases 7 to 10K, depending on exactly what problem you're getting out there and helping.
Yeah.
So guys, everybody watching, come on over to movethinksmile.com, apply. Go ahead and comment below if there's anything else that we can elaborate on or answer questions for you. Be happy to do that. See if you qualify. If you do, you'll get on our calendar, and let's chat soon. So Robin, Elliot, thank you for showing up today. Any other parting shots that leave out there on how to defy the laws of business?
Watch Ingrid's interview.
Watch Ingrid's interview. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's coming up tomorrow, May 12th at 11 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m., 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. All right, guys, come on over to movethinksmile.com, apply, and let's chat soon. See you, everybody.
Thanks.